You're driving. The windshield wipers are moving, left, right, left, and the rain is coming down harder than the forecast promised. The highway is humming beneath you. You can feel the vibration in your seat, in your wrists, in the loose change rattling inside the center console. A song is playing. You know this song. You turn up the volume. The headlights of the oncoming truck are the last thing you see, not the truck itself, just the light. Two circles of white, impossibly bright, cutting through the rain like a scalpel through gauze. You hear the horn. You feel your hands tighten on the wheel. Your foot moves toward the brake. And then nothing. Not darkness, not silence, not sleep, nothing. No thought, no sensation, no awareness of the absence of awareness. The world does not go black. It stops existing. You do not close your eyes. You stop being a person who has eyes. Time doesn't slow down. It is deleted. This is what a Glasgow Coma scale score of 3 means. The lowest number a living human being can register. No eye-opening, no verbal response, no motor response. You are alive. Your heart is beating. Your lungs are filling with air, or a machine is filling them for you. Your blood is moving. Your kidneys are filtering. Every organ in your body is performing its function. Except one. The one that makes you, you. Your brain is running at minimum power. The neural networks that produce consciousness, the thalamocortical loops that weave together perception, memory, selfhood, are silent, not destroyed. Silent, like a city after a blackout. The buildings are still there. The wires are still connected. But the lights are off and no one is home. This is coma, and it is nothing like what you've been told. Most people imagine coma as a deep sleep, a long, dreamless night from which you eventually wake. Television shows it this way. The patient lies still. Someone holds their hand. Days pass in montage, and then the eyes flutter open and recovery begins. The reality is different. The reality is that your body is here, but you are somewhere else, or nowhere at all. And the distance between those two things is the most unsettling question in all of neuroscience. In the first hours, your body is in crisis. If the coma was caused by trauma, a car accident, a fall, a blow to the skull, your brain is swelling. The intracranial pressure is rising. The organ that contains your identity is being crushed against the inside of its own casing. Neurosurgeons may drill a hole through your skull to release the pressure. They may remove a piece of bone entirely, giving the swollen tissue room to expand without destroying itself. If the coma was triggered by oxygen deprivation, a near drowning, a cardiac arrest, an overdose, the damage is different. Neurons, starved of oxygen for more than 4 minutes, begin to die. Not in the dramatic way of a heart attack. Quietly, chemically, one synapse at a time. And each synapse that fails takes with it a tiny piece of the network that once produced your thoughts. The medical team works to stabilize you. They control your temperature. They manage your breathing. They monitor the electrical activity of your brain through electrodes glued to your scalp. An EEG, tracing wavy lines on a screen that tell a story only a neurologist can read. In deep coma, the lines are slow, high-amplitude delta waves, the rhythm of a brain that is barely there. And you, the thing that was driving the car, the thing that heard the song, the thing that saw the headlights, you are gone. Or are you? This is where the science gets uncomfortable. In 2006, a neuroscientist named Dr. Adrian Owen, working at the University of Cambridge, published a paper in the journal Science that changed the way the world understood coma. His patient was a 23-year-old woman who had been in a vegetative state for 5 months following a traumatic brain injury. By every clinical measure, every eye test, every reflex check, every behavioral assessment, she was unconscious. Her Glasgow score said she was not there. Owen put her in an fMRI scanner and asked her to imagine playing tennis. The supplementary motor area of her brain lit up, the same region with the same intensity and pattern as a healthy volunteer who was also imagining playing tennis. When he asked her to imagine walking through the rooms of her house, her parahippocampal gyrus activated, the exact area involved in spatial navigation. She was doing what he asked. She was listening. She understood. She was choosing to respond. And no one. Not the nurses who washed her every day. Not the doctors who checked her vitals every hour. Not the family who sat beside her and wondered if she was gone. No one knew. Owen called this cognitive motor dissociation. The brain can think. The body cannot move. The gap between the two is absolute. In August 2024, a landmark study published in the New England Journal of Medicine examined 353 patients across 6 international centers. All of them appeared behaviorally unresponsive. All of them scored at the lowest levels on clinical assessment scales. Of the 241 patients who showed no observable response to commands at the bedside, 25%, showed clear evidence of conscious brain activity when tested with fMRI or EEG. 1 in 4. You are lying in a hospital bed. You cannot move. You cannot speak. You cannot open your eyes. A doctor shines a light into your pupil, watches it contract, writes a number on a chart. Your family sits in chairs they've pulled close to the bed. Someone is holding your hand. You can feel the pressure. You might even know whose hand it is. But you cannot squeeze back. The sounds come first. Not clear sounds. Distorted, muffled, as if the world is happening on the other side of a thick wall. You hear a rhythm. Steady. Mechanical. It takes you what feels like hours to understand it is the ventilator pushing air into your lungs. You hear a beeping. Slow. Even. That is your heartbeat, translated into sound by a machine you cannot see. Voices arrive later. Fragments. A word here, a tone there. You recognize the pitch before the meaning. Someone says your name. You know this voice. It is familiar in a way that predates language. You know this voice the way you know the smell of your own home, the way your body knows how to breathe. You try to move toward it. Nothing happens. You try to open your eyes. The signal leaves your cortex, travels the motor pathway, and stops. Somewhere between intention and action, the chain is broken. The muscles that should contract do not receive the command. Your eyelids remain closed. Your fingers remain still. You are here, but no one knows it. Time behaves differently in coma. Survivors who retained awareness during their coma describe this with a consistency that is difficult to dismiss. Some say time stretched, hours felt like weeks, and they could not tell whether it was day or night because the sensory cues that normally anchor consciousness to a timeline are gone. Others say time collapsed entirely. Weeks compressed into what felt like a single, continuous moment, with no sense of progression or change. A study from Northwestern medicine and the Hines VA hospital demonstrated something remarkable. Using what they called familiar auditory sensory training, FAST, researchers had family members record personal stories and memories which were played to comatose patients multiple times per day through headphones. The patients who received this stimulation recovered consciousness significantly faster than those who did not. The theory is that familiar voices exercise the neural circuits associated with long-term memory and language comprehension, circuits that, even in deep coma, may still retain the capacity to process sound. Hearing is believed to be one of the last senses to shut down and one of the first to return. Your mother's voice may reach regions of your brain that a doctor's flashlight cannot. And then there are the stories that make medical researchers pause. Martin Pistorius was 12 years old when he fell ill. The diagnosis was never entirely certain. Doctors suspected cryptococcal meningitis. Over a period of months, he lost the ability to walk, to speak, to make eye contact. By every clinical standard, he was in a vegetative state. His parents were told he would never recover. For 12 years, Martin was cared for in institutions and at home. He was fed, washed, dressed, positioned, and moved through the days by people who believed he was unaware of any of it. He was aware of all of it. His consciousness returned approximately 2 years into his coma, though no one knew. He could hear. He could understand. He could feel. But he could not move, blink, gesture, or produce any outward sign that a mind existed behind his eyes. He was locked in. Not in the clinical sense of locked-in syndrome, where patients can sometimes blink or move their eyes, but in a deeper, more total way. He heard his mother say, at a moment of absolute exhaustion and despair, "I hope you die." He understood the words, he felt their weight, and he could not respond. Years later, a therapist noticed that he was tracking objects with his eyes. Tests followed. Communication tools were introduced. Slowly, painfully, over months and then years, Martin Pistorius came back to the world. He wrote a book called Ghost Boy. He gave a TED Talk. He married. He built a life. But he also carried 12 years of memories that no one else knew existed. 12 years of a mind that was present while the world treated it as absent. Your Glasgow score is rising. You do not know this. You do not know there is a scale, or that a number between 3 and 15 describes the distance between you and the world. But something is changing. The sounds are clearer. The voices have edges now. You can tell the difference between the nurse and your sister. You hear words, not fragments, but sentences. Someone is reading to you. You recognize the story. You try to move your hand. Nothing. You try again. Nothing. The third time, something happens. Not a movement, but a twitch. A contraction so small that no one in the room notices, but you feel it. You feel the muscle fire. You feel the signal complete its journey for the first time in weeks. It is the smallest thing a human body can do, and it is everything. Waking from a coma is not like waking from sleep. There is no moment where your eyes snap open and the room comes into focus and you recognize the faces around you. It is a slow, disoriented climb. You open your eyes but do not see. You see but do not understand. You understand but cannot remember what happened or how long you have been here or what your name is. This phase is called post-traumatic amnesia. It can last days, weeks, for some patients, months. You may be agitated. You may try to pull out the tubes. You may not recognize your own family. The world is too loud, too bright, too fast, and the brain that is trying to reassemble your identity is working with damaged circuitry and incomplete data. And even when you return, if you return, you're not the same. Some survivors recover fully. They return to their jobs, their families, their routines. Others live with cognitive deficits that range from subtle to profound, difficulty with memory, with attention, with emotional regulation, with the basic architecture of personality that makes a person feel like themselves. Some never wake at all. The question that remains, the one that Dr. Owen's research raised and that the 2024 NEJM study made impossible to ignore, is not about the patients who wake up. It is about the ones who do not, the ones who lie in beds in long-term care facilities, breathing with the help of machines, fed through tubes, turned every 2 hours to prevent sores from forming on skin that no one is sure can feel. How many of them are like Martin Pistorius? How many are listening? How many heard the conversation where someone said, gently and with love, that perhaps it was time to let go? There is no answer yet. The technology to screen every unresponsive patient for covert consciousness does not exist in most hospitals. fMRI scanners are expensive. EEG-based detection protocols are still being refined. The clinical infrastructure to routinely check whether a body without movement contains a mind with awareness is not yet built. And so the question stays open, not as an abstraction, not as a philosophical puzzle, but as a real, measured, documented possibility that 1 in 4 people who appear to be gone are still, in some deep and inaccessible way, here. You are in a room. The machines are breathing for you. The lights are dim. Someone is talking about the weather, about dinner, about a show they watched last night. They are talking because a nurse suggested it might help. They do not know if you can hear them. They talk anyway. And you hear every word. You hear their voice crack on the sentence they did not plan to say. You feel their hand tighten around yours. You feel the dampness of tears on your knuckles, and you cannot tell them you are here. This is the other side of consciousness. Not death, not the void, but the space between being present and being perceived. The place where a mind exists, but a body refuses to confirm it. Where the question is not what happens after you die, but what happens when the world decides you are already gone, and you are not. No one who has been there can fully describe it, and no one who has not can imagine it. This is the other side.